We're running out of time. Seems like either way, you made up your mind. I keep my head straight, riding in the car. When I really wanna take everything you are, you just do something to me.
Yeah. I'm from Annapolis, Maryland. The drive was cool, the normal, about 4 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
So today, right. Today's a special day.
It is a very special day.
Tell us about this day.
Today is October 20th. Today is the main attraction of the Royal Ram season that we've been celebrating. I dropped a project today called Versus. So y'all getting it hot off the press.
Yes.
Friday Night Live exclusives.
So first, I want to talk to you a little bit about your music background before we go into the album. You told me something really, really interesting before we started. You've only been doing music for how long?
Since like 2010 as an artist.
Right.
So I sang in church. I still do, but that's where it started.
Okay.
I played the piano for a couple choirs in the church, couple different churches. And then I was kind of shy in the beginning. So I wasn't like into singing solos or being in the front. So I was always a part of ensembles. And then when I got to college, being a part of different like talent shows, variety shows, hosting them and being more in the forefront, I got more coming into myself a bit. So then I started recording. I did a song with this guy who went to college with me. And then I recorded my first solo song. And then from there, it's just been on and running.
It's been steady.
Yeah.
So, what's the music scene like in Maryland? Is it different from the Pittsburgh music scene?
Well, I'm not super familiar. I've been out here a couple times, but I'm not super familiar. But I'm guessing it's just like any local music scene. You have your cliquey stuff. You have a lot of one type of artist. You have a lot of things that people gravitate towards, but it's mostly diverse. In Annapolis, where I'm from, is kind of limited. There's a few groups, but not a lot of people who make the type of music that I make.
Right.
So I kind of set myself apart a bit that way. But in DC, where I perform a lot, Washington, DC, I find a little bit more, it's more of a homey feel.
Okay.
More people, I see people like me, so it's more of a R&B soul community.
Right, because you do have a lot of soul in your music.
So, yes.
Yeah, I was listening to, we started to listen, I know what I want to like jump into it, but like I started listening to the album. But even before, like I had listened to, some of the stuff that you had released on like Around Midnight and some of your your SoundCloud stuff. And like, how do you categorize yourself? Because I was trying to say, like, to describe you to somebody, and I don't feel like you sound like anybody.
Yeah.
Like, how do you categorize yourself? Like, do you pull musical influence from people, and if so, who are they? What type of music do you think you make?
Just to be easy in general, I would say R&B soul.
Okay.
I don't want to make up a new lane. A lot of people like to say I make indie soul rock or something. I'm not gonna make up a brand new, brand new thing. But I just make feel good music. So whatever you want to call it.
You do. It definitely does feel good. Like, and even like your character on stage. Like I just when I see you perform, you're so charismatic, and like your personality shows through whatever you do. So it's like. I do feel like you have your own lane though, because I don't see anybody like you, and I feel like that's part of the reason why you're probably going to be so successful and so marketable, because I don't see or hear anybody like you. You don't sound like anybody to me. So like I feel like you're just like Davonne Danielle, like describe her. She's Davonne Danielle, like. And how does that feel? Like have you heard people say stuff like that? Like you feel like you have your own lane?
Yes and no. A lot of people, I do grab influences from, I listen to people like, of course, Erykah Badu. I went to a few of her shows. It was a couple years in a row. Like I drove to Philly to see her. I saw her in DC, and I was just taking notes. A lot of times when I go to shows with big name artists, I'm there to, one, enjoy the show, but two, take notes and to see how they interact with their band, the people that's on stage with them, and just figure out how to take what I see them do and what I like that I see them do and throw my own twist on it and make it work.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that also too, you see a lot of artists kind of struggle to admit that they do take notes and reference from other artists. I mean, how do you find that setting you forward with your future? I mean, being able to admit things like that and building off of, I mean, do you think that that sets you apart and maybe will put you ahead?
Well, yeah, I think everybody takes notes from the greats.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
a lot of Chris Brown gives credit to Michael Jackson every chance he gets. Tony Braxton gives credit to Anita Baker every chance she gets. Like everybody has their influences, and why not follow? Be successful.
Absolutely.
Right.
And if, like I said, put your own twist on it, make it your own.
Yeah.
But I don't like even though you take influences, like obviously, like, you know, when I listen to certain things, I feel like, you know, it has a certain type of feel. But the thing that I like about you is you're still individual. Like you're unique, your uniqueness, even in the way that you dress and the way that you present yourself. Like when I first met you, I was like, oh, who is that? I was like, she's all cute and stuff. Like the way she dressed, like I just feel like the personality that you have comes over in your music too. So like I feel like, you know, like I said, that you are in kind of like a different lane. So how do you market yourself? Like, because your music is different, like what do you find it difficult to market yourself or get shows or anything like that? Or do you just because it's you're good?
I don't find it difficult per se. I feel like if you are completely comfortable in who you are, which I am, people will automatically gravitate towards you. Like if they see that you are who you are and you mean it, and you are unapologetically who you are, people will automatically co-sign to what you're doing. Like, oh, I like that. Like if you present yourself, sure, people are going to be unsure receiving.
Right.
So present yourself the way you want to be received, and people will receive you. So I think key.
How did you find that confidence in yourself? Because like your hair is natural, you dress the way that you want to, like, and I mean I'm the same way, but like for people that are like females that are watching and are afraid to embrace yourself, how did you come into your own, like as a woman and as an artist?
I think it took a while. I guess just figuring out what works for you. It's like anything with fashion and clothes, figuring out what falls on your body type the best.
Yeah.
It's what works for you best. Like, so I'm not going to try to be, although I enjoy Beyonce, you won't see me, you won't catch me giving a gown.
We ain't gonna see you on a leotard.
Right. You won't catch me. I'm not going to give you an 8 count. You know what I mean? Although I enjoy that, but that's not me.
Right.
So I enjoy, but that's not what I'm going to present myself as, which is fine. Like I said, you got to just be comfortable in what you're giving.
In like a lane that you, with the type of music that you do, you don't see like a performance, a huge show, and sometimes maybe like not a lot of visually aesthetic things. How do you keep your shows interesting and, you know, keep the audience engaged and stuff when giving this type of music and you are, you know, a relaxed, a soulful artist? I mean, what's the difference between the show that you would do to like a rap artist or a pop artist like Beyonce?
Well, I think the first difference that sets me apart from, I guess, maybe a rapper or hip hop artist, I try to perform with a live band as often as I can.
Right.
So that just brings a whole nother element to the music, where something performing, where when I get in the studio, when I write a song, it may come off one way in the studio, but then I get a rehearsal with the band and we flip it and do it a whole different way on the live end. So we do a lot of things as far as like covers and mashups, where I take a piece of somebody's song and then throw my lyrics in there, and then it's familiar to the audience on first listen, and then they get to receive what I'm giving as far as my lyrics. So I think it's still exciting, and although I perform R&B and I make R&B and soul music, I still make it exciting on the live end. It has to be exciting because I get off stage sweating every time. So I have to be doing something.
Right, so you gotta be doing something. It might not be an 8 count, but it's definitely bringing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, speaking of bringing it, you brought something today, and I want to dive into it. And that album.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about the album.
Let's talk about it.
So tell us about this album. How long have you been working on this, first of all? It just came out today.
It just came out today. I feel like I've been working on it forever and ever and ever. So the first idea is called Verses, first of all. The first idea was I went through a period of writer's block. And it's been years. I think my last project I put out around midnight was 2014.
Wow.
So it's been a while, but people are still listening to it. It's still fresh in people's CD players on the internet. So I'm not the type to like flood them with music.
Right.
So I like to put out something and let people digest it and get into each track and figure out what it means to them at whatever given point in their lives.
Right.
So, but it got to a point where it's like, okay, Davonne, it's time for you to put something else out. But I went through that period of writer's block. So I'm like, why don't verses that I've done for as features with all the rappers I work with, and I'll work them, put them to new instrumentals and put it out and call it verses.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the midst of trying to put that together, then I got this spark of creativity where I'm writing. Like every day I'm writing, every day I'm going back, retouching stuff. So then with a body of work, still called it verses. Somebody told me, well, you shouldn't call it verses now. But I'm thinking, I mean, songs are composed of verses anyway,
right.
So it still works.
I want to talk about like the structure, like structuring a song, a soul song.
I was going to say, you took it out of me.
You know, I want you to clear something up. When I think of soul music, I always have thought about it starting out as poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it starts?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes it starts off as poetry, and with this project in particular, I didn't want it to be as structured as a regular song would be. So I wasn't really worried about, you hear people say, okay, I'm gonna do 16 bars and then an 8-bar hook and then 16 and then a bridge. I wasn't too much worried about the structure of the song. I was more so worried about just getting the idea down.
Yeah.
How do I feel? And put it down. Sometimes it starts off as poetry. Sometimes it starts off as, 2 or 3 lines that I just keep repeating over and over until I, build on it and build on it and build on it. And before you know it, you have a verse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Verses.
Literally. So like, what does, because like I know like a lot of artists get into like, the storytelling of their albums like that. How did you pick out like the song order? Were there things that you were like battling with, like, no, I don't want to put this here, put it here? How does that work? How does that look like for you?
I try to, my track list, I try to put it in story form where it makes sense for one song to come after another. Mm-hmm. So it may make sense to me, it may not make complete sense to the listener, but if it makes most sense to me, then that's the order I put it in.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so excited for it. I want to finish it. I haven't gotten to finish it yet, so I'm like chomping at the bit.
I mean, what's your overall message with the album first?
Yeah. What do you want people to take away from it?
It's just a collection of songs that represent. I just posted a post the other night on Instagram. It's a collection of songs about love, transition, questions, just going back and forth with yourself, going back and forth with people, trying to come out of yourself, coming out of dark places. So it touches on a little bit of stuff, but it's not completely dark.
Yeah.
So some people, one of my friends was texting me like, I was doing so well. It's just one song. It's like 2 songs on the project that have made me cry on separate occasions after they were written and recorded and everything. And that's how it comes. Like if you don't cry during, like I make sure I feel what I'm writing.
Right.
So that's a natural emotion if you're writing a real, true, feel good, feel bad when you were bad song.
Right.
So,
yeah, but a good album, I feel like a good album has all those things.
Has all the things. And
I
just have one last question about your album cover.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see here on the album cover, I mean, there's a lot of reference to different artists and stuff like that. How did you come up with, what is the idea behind this album cover? Because it stands out to me.
Wonderful. That was it. So actually at my friend's apartment, who is my graphic designer / photographer / everything. He actually has, his living room is a wall of records.
Okay.
So we were doing a shoot. So I was like, can we use that wall? I think that would be dope if we used that wall. So, I mean, it's a wall of the greats, great songwriters, people who are quoted, people who are timeless. And I feel like the music that I make is timeless and can listen to. That's why Around Midnight is still relevant today.
Yeah.
Although it's a few years old, people are still referencing it.
Right.
Talking about it like they're still talking about Charlie, trying to figure out who he is. It's a song called Charlie on there. So it's just timeless. So
Awesome.
that's what, and I told him, I was like, I want it to be simple, but still eye-catching. So it's
Right.
not a whole bunch going on,
Right.
but I like it.
I like it too.
Absolutely.
Well, please tell the audience your social media and
Where they
everything
can
so they can
find
keep up with you.
all your
and-
good music.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere at Davonne Danielle. Visit the website, davondenille.com. Versus is available everywhere, wherever you listen to your music, Amazon, Google Play, Tidal, iTunes, Apple Music. Yeah, Davonne Danielle.
What can they expect next?
Next,
What's next for you?
I'm just gonna bask in this for a moment. I'm retweeting everything and screenshotting everything, seeing how people are receiving it.
Yeah.
The first song that was commented on was actually one of my favorites. It's called You Are Ready. So I was happy about that because I wasn't sure about, it's always like a back and forth, like wondering how you felt when you wrote the song,
Right.
you know, the intention behind the whole premise of the song and the project, but then it's always like that bit of nervousness that I get, like, I don't know how people are gonna receive it. Are they gonna get it? It's gonna make sense. And to see that one was the first one somebody tweeted about, it was like, oh
Right.
yes, it worked.
Well, great. I'm
Good.
excited for it.
I'm
Listening to
excited
it,
too.
I was really, I'm always happy. Your voice
Yeah.
just brings me warm and fuzzy. So, yeah, bask in it.
Yes,
Bask in it.
I will.
Yeah.
And again, if you guys want to bask in it too, this is the album,
Yes,
Versus, Davonne Danielle. You can on music. Tidal.
Yes,
So
that's big.
You know that this is going to be some good stuff. So make sure that you guys check this out, listen to it, give her your feedback, let her know. And
Yeah.
there's no option. You have to check it out. All
Yeah,
right.
stay tuned because the fun's not done yet.
It's
We have
not.
another
Not
very
at all.
special guest after the break. So we'll see you guys soon.
Yes, yes.